your host, Dante Thompson, and we're already having fun on this set tonight. It's going to be a really good program, and we're going to learn a lot about Israel. And my two favorite people that know everything there is about Israel, and what they don't know, they brought the experts with them tonight, is Earl Cox and Dorothy Spalding. Thank y'all so much for being here. I'll just wave to you down there, Dorothy. Now, we're going to get into our guests in just a minute. But y'all go to Israel all the time. Earl, you've got a couple more trips planned this year.
That's right.
What's going on in Israel right now that you're seeing that our viewers need to be aware of?
Well, I can go all the way back to 3,500 years ago, come up to the present. Yeah. There's a lot going on in Israel right now that I think those in the Christian, Jewish community should be concerned with. And I think that those who love freedom and democracy here in America should be concerned with is that our ally is there. But Israel is got some problems that she's facing. Looking at Iran, number one. You've got up into the north, Lebanon. You never know what the Hezbollah is going to do up there. And you got the south down there with Hamas. And those rockets continue to fall, and you just don't hear too much about it anymore. So she's just trying to keep her head above the water and says, look, let's just sit, be prepared. And I think that's probably more than most countries are prepared, and Israel is prepared. And before your program is over, you'll have a person on here that will tell you how prepared they're getting.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to going back to Israel with you guys. We got to go real quick. We got to go.
How many times did we say this?
I'm telling you. Now, you just got back, though, a couple months ago, didn't you?
Yes, and it was wonderful.
Tell us what all you got to experience this trip.
So much, but I went and checked out some schools and some different fundraising places to make sure that where the money's going is where it's going. Was able to go visit the factories, which I really liked, because I found out that there are Palestinians and Jews working right across from each other, working together.
Happy.
Happy. And the BDS just hurts the Palestinians. So I found that out. I also went to the place where really they're shooting a lot of rockets in right now from the Gaza. But these are the people, and this is what really hurts me the most. These are the people who are chased off, pulled off of their properties in the Gaza. They had beautiful farms. They're living in containers. There were 600 families. Today there's 160 families. 13 years later, still living in there. And that is something I would sure like to be a part of getting rid of. It's just every time I look at it, I think that's a bad look on Israel. And I'd like to get rid of it.
Well, what happened to these people moved into or got forced into the containers? Well, I'm not familiar with this story.
When they were forced off the Gaza, I don't know if you remember, but these people were religious Jews. They had beautiful farms. And they were literally pulled off out of their farms. They were believing God. They waited till the last minute and were believing God would set them free. And they still gave it to the Palestinians, and they were knocked off their farms. If you go in there today and look at those farms, all destroyed. They were gorgeous farms. They could have made, the Palestinians could have made a lot of money on that farm, but Hamas came in and destroyed everything. And so, you know, I have no love.
And build
tunnels coming into Israel, building tunnels coming into Israel for one purpose, to kill the Jew.
My goodness.
Literally doing that. And all the humanitarian money that goes over into Gaza to help humanitarians.
They don't get it.
Unfortunately, the leaders get it. And what the leaders don't get, what they do is they build tunnels, try to come over and invade into Israel. So it's, you know, you try to say, what's fair? You know, it looks fair, but they have a beautiful place. They were producing so much fruits and vegetables over there.
Gorgeous place.
And it was unbelievably beautiful. You would want to go there if you had a chance. And then when the disengagement took place, what happened immediately? Palestinians went in there and burned down all of the synagogues. They destroyed all of the beautiful greenhouses that they had. And they promised, if you do this to Sharon, they said, we'll give you peace. But you've seen what kind of peace Israel's gotten? Qassams, Katyushas, and Grad rockets. And they've been falling daily on innocent Israeli people, killing them and maiming them. So that's why when you say give away what you know as the West Bank, we know it as Judea and Samaria. You think you're going to find peace there? What you're going to do is find out that Israel loses her defensible borders, is what's going to happen. And then Israel is vulnerable. So it can never happen. It cannot happen. And when the international community says, Dante, we want to give this land to the Palestinians, and it will bring peace. Let me tell you the type of peace it will bring. It will bring Israel under the hand of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Brotherhood. I mean, just so much. So Israel is very vulnerable, and so she has to have those defensible borders. And Judea and Samaria cannot be given to them. No. And I think even the administration right now is recognizing this.
Well, what can we as Americans do? What can we as Christians do in this situation? You mentioned some of the organizations that some of our viewers might donate to as the money's not going there. Are there organizations that you recommend, or is there?
There are many organizations that I would recommend, but I would, you'll have some guests on here that will probably tell you what they're doing, and you might want to consider that, or your visitor, you and audience might want to consider helping them. But what we can do in America right now is to take and encourage the Trump administration through our representatives in Congress and in Senate and say, we want you to stand with the state of Israel. And what would be exciting is to see for enough pressure come on the administration right now to move that embassy from Tel Aviv all the way back into Jerusalem where it belongs, and have other countries to do the same. That would say to the international community, get off the back of Israel. Israel is not an aggressive country. They are just sitting there saying, leave us alone. And they're surrounded, as you very well know, by all Arab countries. And their whole idea is to annihilate, through genocide, all of Israel. It's not that they want land for peace. Arafat turned down 97.6%, I understand, of what he was given in the Oslo account. Wow. And when Ehud Olmert was prime minister, he wanted to give them almost the same thing. They turned it down. Why would you turn that much real estate down if if you're trying to get a deal worked out? You'd say, great, I'll take it. They don't want the money. They don't want the land. What they want to do is to get rid of the Jewish people and get rid of all of it and take over the Temple Mount.
Wow. Well,
and you saw that not too long ago with the Temple Mount.
Yeah. Well, tell the viewers if they aren't familiar with that.
Well, we have another guest that probably can tell most she can probably really tell you about the Temple Mount. But they went up there, and one of the Knesset members is a Druze. And I was able to see him. Well, it was part of the Druze, two policemen that were Druze that were killed up there on the Temple Mount, up on the upper. And so they put up, what do you call those things? Where you walk through, how when you're going.
Oh, metal detectors.
Yeah, metal detectors. They put those up, and then people got angry. The Palestinians got angry. Well, I don't know why they ever took them down. I would have let them up.
Dante, have you ever walked into a bank or walked into a courtroom or walked into any place whatsoever and you didn't go through a metal detector?
Yes.
Never.
Right.
But Israel says, look, let's go through the metal detectors. You have to get through a metal detector to get into the hotel, first of all, no matter who you are. But on the Temple Mount, they don't want those metal detectors, and you know why they don't want them, right?
What's that?
Because they want to carry those knives in and carry weapons in and cause problems. And so Israel said, well, no, let's not do that. Let's just put these metal detectors up and put a few cameras up, and it's to protect you as well as to protect us. They didn't want that. The whole international community of Arabs says, no, we don't want that, Jordan included.
Wow.
All of them say, we do not want it, and we are going to fight against it. And then, unfortunately, Israel sort of backed down on it and has pulled some of those things out.
Yeah, now it's a mess.
Wow.
Well, it was. We'll have to ask Moshe.
Well, let's get to our guest tonight.
Okay.
Let's get. So I got the two experts, and they brought their experts, and I'm telling you, you're going to get experted tonight. So that's for sure. So our first guest tonight is Keith Den Hollander. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Did I pronounce that name right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. I'm going to butcher some names tonight, folks.
From Holland.
Let me tell you. Excellent. Hollander.
Listen to this, the Hollander.
Okay, the Hollander. Excellent.
That's what that means. I found that out today.
In Dutch is the.
Excellent.
So when you see a Vander or a Van Den, that's from the. So whenever you see Vander, Van Den, it's from the. When you see Den or Van alone, it's usually the.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm literally the Hollander.
Awesome.
The Hollander.
But you're from Michigan.
I am.
So
not originally.
From Holland, Michigan.
Originally from New Jersey, but
from New Jersey.
I transplanted to Michigan 21 years ago.
Well, you're the regional director of the Christian Coalition. Tell us about the Christian Coalition there.
The Christian Coalition's been around for about 26 years now, and have been fighting valiantly for all sorts of family values issues for all of those 26 years. We have incredible leadership in Roberta Combs. Earl knows her well, and I believe Dorothy does too. And over the years, we've taken on a whole host of issues. But one thing that's been constant is we've always been supporters of Israel. Israel's always been an important priority of ours. We've always believed we had a biblical command to support Israel. And today, as we see anti-Semitism rising its ugly head again, I think Charlottesville even showed that. Still people walking around with swastikas today after what that stands for. I mean, it's unconscionable that that's still happening today. But we're seeing it on college campuses. We're seeing it in local county and township and city governments trying to pass these BDS-type measures. This issue has really risen to the surface as one that needs immediate attention and a rebolstering of our efforts to be sure that the Christian community is going to be there to stand with Israel.
Yeah. Well, now you went to Israel for the first time last year, is that right?
I did.
Tell us about, I mean, I guess, have you been working with Israel prior to that yourself? I mean, with the Christian Coalition, or was that your foot in the door there, going to Israel?
I went to Israel on a AIEF APAC trip, and it was an incredible experience. I can't tell you the difference between reading about Israel, learning about Israel, watching videos about Israel, and going to Israel. It's life-changing in so many ways. You step off the plane and you don't feel like you're visiting somewhere, you feel like you're home.
Yeah.
And just you'll never read your Bible the same. You'll never, your understanding of certain passages of Scripture change forever. You know, reading the Beatitudes on the Mount, just an unbelievable experience. And you know, people often ask, well, what was your favorite part of Israel? And I don't know how to answer that because it was all of it. You know, we saw the whole country over about 9 days and met with the Knesset. And the thing that really stuck out to me is in a region like the Middle East where Christianity is so persecuted, Israel was the one beacon where you were just free to worship God and worship Jesus and proclaim his name without fear of being persecuted or losing rights because of it. And that was just incredible in that region where that's such a anomaly compared to what's going on in other places.
Yeah. I forget the percentages, but I mean, Christianity or Christians, it's pretty high up there. I mean, behind the Jews, am I right?
It is. I don't know the percentages either.
It's rapidly increasing. But you know what's so exciting? You see a young man like him and a young man like you too. You know, when you're my age, you need to be in a hammock.
I'm not that young anymore now.
Oh, you're very, very young. When you look at me, you look at Moses. But in any event, the things that the Christian Coalition is doing right now, they have recognized an avenue that will hopefully confront BDS and anti-Semitism on our institutions of higher learning. This young man from Michigan that Roberta Combs has identified, you're going to be reading a lot about him. You're going to be seeing him going to these institutions of higher learning. He's already gathered 250 young students who will be in Washington, D.C. on October the 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
And speakers are coming in. He's going to address them. You tell him about it instead of me.
Yeah, tell me about that, Keith.
So the next generation is far different from even my generation or my parents' generation because they learn differently, they interact differently, they get their news from social media, including their fake news. And so it's really important that we give them accurate information about what's going on in Israel. You know, there's so much biased information that if they pay attention to what comes out of UNESCO and the UN, I mean, it's just such biased, false information that they're receiving. And so it's really important that we educate the next generation. We see BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction movement on college campuses in particular. And it's rising its ugly head everywhere across the country. And a lot of those places, that effort is being fought by both Christian and Jewish students on campus. But that Christian support has to be extra strong because we see recently in Wisconsin where the University of Wisconsin attempted to pass a BDS measure. The Jewish students fought back along with Christian allies. It didn't pass. They waited until the Jewish students went home for Passover, and they passed it while they were gone. This is where Christians need to come in and stand in that gap and fill that space and be that voice for Israel. You know, being pro-Israel is not just a Christian issue. It's not just a Republican issue. It's not just a Democrat. It's an American issue. Israel's one of our allies. And we have an obligation to stand with her. But it's beyond our biblical obligations. As an ally, you know, we really need our next generation to understand the importance of why we support Israel, why we give them military defense, why we do the things we do. And so Christian Coalition on Campus, our mission is to build out our existing campus chapters, add new campus chapters. Hopefully some of your listeners and viewers who are in college will reach out to us to become part of this effort on their campus if they don't have a chapter or if they'd like to join their chapter.
How can people get a hold of you? You got a website or something?
Yes, cc.org. Very simple.
That
about as easy as it gets.
I'm sitting there, let me write it down. It's too late. It's already out. Yep. cc.org. Awesome.
Yeah, and they can there's a Get Involved a tab on the site, and they can let us know they want to be part of this.
Wonderful.
But tell Dante and his viewers the secret weapon that you've got now, that you've discovered, that you're going to be able to reach these young people who are under the influence of Islam on our campuses, and how you hope to get in there and the vehicle you're going to use to do it.
So one of the really exciting things is young people have different validators than maybe I do or Earl or Dorothy does or that you have. And one of the validators for young people are sports figures. They just love sports figures. And it's from the college level all the way into the professional sports. And so we're working with Mike Gottfried, who you may know, former ESPN color
Mike was on with us a couple of times ago, yes.
To do this Christian Coalition on Campus training in Washington. And he has reached out and brought in Coach Pearl from Auburn.
Awesome.
Who is going to come and speak to the students as well, along with other sports figures and also Israeli officials. Some of the speakers haven't been confirmed, so I don't want to throw any names out that haven't already confirmed, but we do know we're going to have Mike Gottfried there, and we're going to have Coach Pearl there, and we're really excited about having these voices validating to the next generation that this is an important issue they should be concerned about. Wonderful. And we appreciate Earl's.
You did a good job.
Well, Keith, let me ask you this. In the U.S., let's forget Israel, but in the U.S., on college campuses, off college campuses, just anywhere in the U.S., why is Jews hated so much? I mean, why? What's the point? I mean, we have no ties to Israel. I mean, these people don't. But why do they hate Jews? I mean, why do they persecute them? It just makes no sense to me.
It goes back to the beginning of time, doesn't it? It's always been that way. I think some of it's jealousy. Yeah. I think some of it is there's a false narrative out there that the UN is helping to spread along with others, that somehow Israel is the oppressor and the Palestinians are the victims. And so in this age of, to use some of the words, we're hearing more and more snowflakes and triggers and all of these things. You know, on these campuses, a lot of these young people are being sucked into that narrative that somehow they should go with the underdog and that Palestine is somehow the underdog. In reality, it's the furthest thing from the truth. They're no underdog at all. Yeah. This is intentional. They've been offered almost everything they've ever wanted to make peace, and they still don't take it. Yeah. If they really wanted peace, they would have taken the deals that were put on the table. So I think, and there's still lingering anti-Semitism from the days of Hitler, like we were just talking about with Charlottesville. I mean, clearly there's still people walking around carrying swastikas. The young man driving that car, they said that his past social media posts were very anti-Israel. He spoke out against the Jews.
And this is just the hatred for no reason. I mean, they've never done anything to those people. It doesn't make any sense. It's just the devil.
That's it. You hit it. Because, see, he hates anything God hates. Yeah. And they're God's chosen people. Mm-hmm. So he wants to destroy them because he hates anything God loves.
Yeah.
But you know what's so sad, Dante? Over the periods of years that we've lived, and the Christian community has not necessarily been good to Israel. Think of the Pilgrims and the Crusaders. So it's very difficult for Christians like us to go over there and say, look, trust us and believe in us. We don't have a hidden agenda. We want to help you. Say, whoa, wait a minute. You wanted to help us many times, but look what you put us through. So we've got a new type of Christian that's coming out now that believes in this Bible and believes what this Bible says, not what man says, and they are practicing the love of Jesus Christ. They are going and taking their money, they are taking their time, effort, and energy, and they're giving it to these people, and they're reaching out. And the guests that you're going to have on the program today, they'll tell you, they're not afraid of us. They're not, you know, they say, look, you're helpful, you're friends. But our agenda is to show the love, not go over and beat them head with the Bible and tell them how good we are after what we've done, our forefathers have done. But we are different Christians. We believe in the Bible 100% being correct and right.
Exactly.
As you very well know, you've been As a young man, your parents taught you that.
Exactly, yeah.
So is it a new Christian? It's a Christian who understands what the Word of God says. To bless Israel, and you will be blessed.
Exactly. Awesome.
It's interesting, Dante, that you had mentioned that the Israelis haven't done anything to these people.
Yeah.
On the contrary, not only have they not done anything to them, but most of the technology that the young people enjoy today, the computers, the cell phones, your MacBook that you love and spend so much money on, comes from Israel. And so does a lot of the medicine that we use in modern medicine. Keeps us healthy, heals us when we're sick. So for those people that really want to say that they want to boycott Israel, okay, put your cell phone away, take your computer and turn it in. You're really going to do it, then you better do it all the way. Don't say you want to do it and then not be willing, because you'll get rid of all your technology in your house if you get rid of everything that has Israeli technology in it.
And as a young man, one day you're going to have to get a colonoscopy. Okay, as you get older. Okay, they've invented a pill you swallow that takes a picture, so you don't have to go through that arduous process.
I like that a lot better than the old-fashioned way.
That's right. So, and Israel invented that, and it's being used widely all over the world now, but nobody knows it.
Which says, through you will all the nations of the earth be blessed. And they're blessed because of all the inventions.
Wow. That's awesome.
And food. They send food all over the world.
It's the most delicious food growing in rocks. I'm telling you.
I know, I've seen it over there. I've been one time, and it's like, where did that come from? Out of that? No.
I couldn't believe it. Drip irrigation we're using in our country right now. But it's producing the greatest fruits and vegetables that you could ever buy on the face of the earth, flowers. All of these wonderful things that come from Israel in a land that Mark Twain said, this is nothing but a desert. This is no good. Let's get out of this place. But yet it turned into a blossomed, and just like God said, it blossomed into a producing country that's giving the world a better way to live and to be able to experience and enjoy.
Wonderful.
I just saw it real quick. I just saw it special on underground irrigation, where they can keep the roots the same temperature all the time.
Wow.
And that's why they grow more food.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, folks, this is what we're going to be talking about. The rest of the program is nothing but Israel, so stick around. You're going to learn a lot. But Keith, thank you so much for being here this evening. Check out the website, cc.org. Hard to remember. I think I'll forget. So check it out, and you'll learn a lot, folks. But BJ, wonderful, wonderful singer, songwriter. I guess he's not a songwriter, but man, he's awesome, though.
I love him.
He's awesome.
With me most everywhere.
He's going to be doing some music for us tonight, and he's going to start off with "I Am Israel."
For 2,000 years I lay wasted and bare, my fruit and trees withered with no one to care. My hillsides eroded, fields barren of man, till I heard heaven call, prepare. They come again. I am Israel, I am God's holy land, I am Israel. I belong to no man, I am Israel, and my people have come, I am Israel. I and my people are one. To them only I open my heart. They have come home at last and will never, never depart. Though many great nations have trampled my soil, many wars have been fought, many kingdoms been spoiled, not one noticed my mountains, my streams long to see. Only one tiny people has sung their songs to me. I am Israel, I am God's holy land, I am Israel. I belong to no man, I am Israel, and my people have come, I am Israel. I and my people are one. To them only I open my heart. They have come home at last and will never, never depart. Neglected, despised, derided, profaned, we have suffered in silence because of the name. The 2,000-year war shall soon come to an end. Every nation shall bow their knee and bless Jerusalem. I am Israel, I am God's holy land, I am Israel. I belong to no man. I am Israel, and my people have come. I am Israel. I and my people are one. To them only I open my heart. They have come home at last and will never, never depart. Neglected, despised, derided, profaned, we have suffered in silence because of Hashem. The 2,000-year war shall soon come to an end. Every nation shall bow their knee and bless Jerusalem. I am Israel, I am God's holy land. I am Israel, I belong to no man. I am Israel, and my people have come. I am Israel, I and my people are one. To them only I open my heart. They have come home at last and will never, never depart. Never depart. Never depart.
Alrighty, thank you so much, BJ, doing a wonderful job. I know everybody remembers BJ. Man, he's your right hand, isn't he?
Sidekick.
And he's awesome.
Sidekick.
He is awesome. So, but joining us now is Maria Pons.
Did a good
spell
job.
it, spell it, or pronounce it how I should be pronouncing it, please.
Mireya.
Okay, my tongue is way too fat.
It's
I'm
okay,
telling you.
Maria, it's good, it's fine.
So you are an elite volunteer with the Qatar Counterterrorism Unit.
Yes,
This sounds serious.
yes.
It is.
It is very serious.
Tell us
Yes.
what all you do. Of course, this not only have you been to Israel, you live in Israel.
Yes.
Everybody else has just visited there, but you live in Israel,
Yes.
and you're part of the counterterrorism unit. Tell us what's going on and what you see on a daily basis over there.
We see a lot. Actually, what Yatar is basically doing every day, it's a unit that we are working. It's a unit of the Israeli police that it's run only by volunteers.
Wow.
Under the border police, which is like a gendarmerie, like wearing green, like a kind of military police. And what they are doing is they are facing terror. Actually, like 90% of the job we do is facing terror, and these are all volunteers that they don't have any kind of a monetary reward.
Wow.
They are not allowed to get, even if we would like to pay them, they are not allowed. Police is a governmental body, so they are not allowed to get money.
Wow.
So within the Israeli police, we found the way of creating this unit and to make it as a non-profit organization and get a regulation. So we are not getting any money from the government. On the other side, we are doing this work as a non-profit organization.
Right.
But these guys, they have all the rights as a police officer.
Wow. Well, where are some of the hot spots that you're seeing, and where are some of the places that you patrol?
We're not in Israel. I mean, we are threatened by in the north by Hezbollah, in the Gaza border, which is quite long. If you see it, Israel is taking quite a big territory. All the Samaria and Judea area, Jerusalem. Right now, it's been all over the news with the Temple Mount crisis, where we help to enlarge a lot of the security, like trying to keep all the entrances from Jerusalem clean, so that there was not much tension than what it already was in Jerusalem. So it's quite a lot. The problem of the Israeli police is that is facing is that they don't have enough body to cover all the areas that they need aid. So that's why there is a lot taking care, or a lot of volunteers are giving their service and their time away from their families to be an important part of defending Israel.
Yeah. Well, now, what's the biggest threat? Is it the rockets coming across the border? Is it people coming across the border? What's the biggest threat?
If we're talking about rockets, we're talking more about the Hamas tension down in Gaza. In that area, like if you ask the villages, the people that are living in the villages, what they fear the most, they won't even tell you about the rockets.
Really?
Because they will tell you more about the tunnels that they've been building underneath. There is a complete big infrastructure, a huge infrastructure of tunnels that is being built under Gaza.
Wow.
And the meaning is to bring in a massive wave, a lot of martyrs across the border underneath, and to do terror attacks.
Yeah. Are y'all constantly searching out these tunnels and finding them?
We don't worry, like people doesn't worry about the tunnels that they know they are. They worry about the tunnels they don't know where they are. They know that they are, but they didn't find them yet. To get into details, it's something that I cannot do. But of course, the rockets are also a major problem, especially now that Hamas got a new age kind of rockets that they are flying much lower, and Iron Dome, like we know that it covers bombings in Tel Aviv or different areas in Israel. These villages are so close to the border that are not covered by it.
Wow.
So it's scary.
And for those that's watching that don't know, the Iron Dome, it's like a 24/7. Is it radar, or is it picks up the rockets and then it shoots them down automatically, essentially, right?
Yes.
And it's really successful, isn't it?
I mean, yes, but there are falling rockets. I mean, last week there was a rocket falling in an open area, many times in the area of Shkol, down in Gaza, many times in Shkelon, but many times are falling also in an open area, so then it's no life.
Nobody's hurt.
No, nobody's hurt, but it can happen.
Yeah.
It happens, and it can happen. And it's very stressing for the people living in those areas.
I remember a couple of times ago, y'all were on with me, and Dorothy, you introduced me to an app. I don't have it on my new phone, and it would tell you every time a rocket hit. And it was daily, seemed like.
Yes.
I turned it off because I wouldn't sleep.
That's why I didn't download it on my new phone, is because every day I was getting an alert, and I was like, okay, it's happening. I just got to remember to keep them in my prayers, and it's something that we don't hear about. The airport was hit a couple of, maybe a month or a year back. That made the news. That made international news. But this you don't hear about daily, about the
sorry.
But no, I said where they're going to really be needed is if there's an attack that comes from the north, from Hezbollah in Lebanon, because Israel is right now Magen David Dome, which is their Red Cross. They are preparing for 200,000 deaths immediately. That's death, not counting the injured. And so they're getting together and say, we need these materials in order to be able to dispose of these bodies, et cetera. But Hezbollah now has rockets that are so accurate, they can go and hit what they aim at. And Israel cannot send up an Iron Dome, because an Iron Dome won't do it. David Sling may, but in any event, they are trying right now to see how they can knock those rockets. But there are over 100,000 rockets, 100,000 rockets that Hezbollah has been given to them by Iran. And now they're producing those rockets, okay? And Israel cannot possibly knock down that many rockets coming in. So she's preparing, am I right? She's preparing to how to take care of all that. We're talking about just Tel Aviv only, see? And with this group of people, they need to get there quick. And they have to get there on, they call them all-terrain vehicles, right? That's what they need. They need to get those vehicles in order to get there to help these people. It's like there used to be ambulances, right?
Right.
But now they need all.
Yeah, these four-wheelers.
Yeah, actually, what our unit is doing, the name Yatar is coming from a contraction of two names, like Yechida Traktorim, meaning like a unit of ATVs. So what we are doing, falling as a tactical unit under the border police, like a special division, we are enlarging these tactical missions with a fast aid response. So with these ATVs, we can go off-roads, we can easily take our men fresh. Like normally if you would do that by foot, by the moment they get to the target, they are tired already. So with this kind of cars, you can get very fast to until the last minute, and they are fresh and they know exactly how to act. And what we are doing is protecting all the borders, but the threat is there. I mean, however it is, if it's Hezbollah, that we know there is intelligence work and we know what they have, and it's and we know how to treat it, but we know that we need these ATVs. That's
How much does one of the ATVs cost?
It's $60,000 all together. Like with importing them, we buy them in the United States. Importing them with all the armor, special armor inside, sirens.
So these aren't your run-of-the-mill hunting four-wheelers, and these are
K&M. The model is X3. Which is the newest model of K&M factory, actually. They are huge, K&M, and these are very like a high rank or a better, like the best in the market. And that's what the police wants to have.
If somebody wants to support this initiative to help with the ATVs, is there a website that they can donate, or can you give that to us?
Yes, it's yatarctu.org. You write it yatarctu.org.
Excellent. And there it is on the screen, and then the email is info@yatarctu.org as well. So now, have you personally been involved in an attack? Have you seen the bombings or the missile attacks?
Like personally, if I've been in at nights and I heard bombs falling.
Wow.
Like 2 miles, 2 miles away from me. I've been in a lot of missions at night, and I saw different terror attacks, but that I cannot get into.
Actually, Yatar was very instrumental during the recent stabbings over at the Damascus Gate.
Yes.
And the wall, right?
Yes.
You were there.
We were in the what we were doing, covering, to be in the Damascus Gate. Normally it's an area what we are patrolling, but because of the last 3 days, that it's been inside of 2 police officers from Druze police officers from the regular police and 1 border police like us. She was killed, and they were stabbed. So the new regulation of the police, the new standards is on security. It's a vest that are not they are double plated with covering the neck and shoulders, because they are stabbing where it's the most dangerous and that they can kill, and also with a special cover which helps the knife not to penetrate the protective vest. So without those vests, we cannot put lives in the Temple Mount. But what we've been doing is before the prayers, and Hamas was giving the orders to send thousands of people from Palestinian territories that they didn't have even the right to be in Israeli territory, to send them, and not with good ideas. I mean, they were not going to play into the Temple Mount. The meaning was to try to make attacks. I'm not saying that 100% we're going to do that, but the preventive work you need to be doing in order to filter those guys out of a mass of people coming at the same time. It's a very important job that we did, and we were sending in each area that is entering to Jerusalem 25 men to check and send away all the autobuses that they wouldn't get to the Temple Mount.
Wow.
So,
how many volunteers do y'all have now?
well, actually, I'm very proud to say that, because when we met in Jerusalem, we had like around 70 at that moment. Right now, we have 150 volunteers.
Oh, that's great. So
Yes.
Tell us
it's more
who they are.
than yeah.
These guys are coming, they are all combat volunteers coming from special IDF, from the Army SWAT units.
Wow.
And we recruit them. They pass a heavy recruitment process. We train them under the Border Police for 4 months. They pass like theoretical exams, but also physical exams. And then we give them the gear, and they start to work.
That's awesome. Now, yourself, did you serve in the IDF as well?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Wow. That's unreal. So these guys are the best of the best, kind of special forces, tip of the spear type of thing. Then, wow.
You just can't join unless you have some special training.
That's good.
In the area of terrorism, and so forth. And as you know, the United States sends people over there for Israelis to teach us how to do what you do, right?
Right. I mean, they do it every day. So
yeah, it's so sad. Really
is.
And they're amazing help also. We have a lot of Americans coming to serve Israel, which is. We are very glad with that.
Good, good. Now, Dorothy, you've been in the hospitals over there and saw some of the wounded from the attacks, haven't you?
That's amazing, because, you know, if it were me, I'd go shoot up the Gaza and get rid of them all. But that's me. But Israel, when somebody gets hurt over there, they bring them to the hospital in Ashkelon, and they take care of them. Or in Hadassah Hospital, I talked to one of the nurses, and she said that she had to take care of a bomber one night who tried to kill everybody, and there she is taking care of him.
Yeah, one of the leaders of Hamas has a major transplant he has to have. Okay? And he's asked the Israeli government if they will take and perform this operation. This is a Hamas leader. This ask, and you know, Israel said, yes, come on over, we'll take care of you if we can. If we can get the kid, we'll take care of you.
That's their enemy.
Yeah, they kill Israelis, innocent Israelis, and yet when their leaders or somebody needs help, they come over to Barzillai Hospital down in Ashkelon, or go to Ramadan, or they go to Tel Shamir, one of the hospitals there, Hadassah, and they need help. And Israel never turns them down, and they give them the same treatment that they would give one of their own, just like the Palestinians. They make the same salary that the Jewish people make.
Yes.
They don't discriminate.
In the
so that's what's
factories,
so
it's the
sad
same.
about it.
Actually, it's, I think the Palestinians are really victims of their own government. It's sad what is going on now.
Brotherhood.
Now, do you have Palestinian friends that y'all get along fine? And
I'm personally not, because I'm in the police, so I'm not allowed to. I have to be careful. But I mean, if I've been in the hospital treated, and I can tell you that the treatment I got from Arab people, it's amazing. Like I have like Druze Arabs, and we love them so much, and they are a huge contribution to the country. This is not about religion or who the like skin color or political way of thinking. It's about we care about security and about the future of our kids, nothing else.
yeah.
We do what we're told to.
Wonderful. I want to thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Let's help them get their ATVs. You can go to yatarctu.org and find out more information.
The email, though, it was info@yatarisrael.org.
Okay, so instead of down there at the bottom, it should be info@yatarisrael.org. So go to the website, and that'll have all the correct information on it there. So sorry about that, y'all.
No, it's okay.
So, Alex, I want to thank you so much for being on with us
Thank you so much.
today.
And you're going to invite him to go on one of those ATVs?
Yeah.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go. That'd be fun. Oh, wow.
You should come.
We need. I'm telling y'all, I say this every time
When
we
you're
bring y'all on.
ready.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready
I
to
don't
go.
believe you. You wanted to walk
We'll make a
before you
trip.
come. I think you want to go over there with the danger.
Oh,
We'll do it.
Can be fun.
that would be. Well, let's take a break for a song. BJ's going to be doing Fear Not for us. When we come back, we've got some great more guests, and we're going to learn a lot more about what's going on in Israel. So take it away, BJ.
just through the waters that flow above your head. When you come to the rivers that fill your heart with dread. When you walk through the fire, you will not be touched by flame, and the waters will not overflow you if you call upon my name. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, there'll be no shame. Fear not, I have redeemed you, and I've called you by your name. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, there'll be no shame. Fear not, I have redeemed you, and I've called you by your name. When your enemies surround you like locusts on the land, and they lay their traps around you, so you'll fall into their hand. Well, they'll fall into their own nets who plan that wicked deed. For great, great is my mercy to those who trust in me. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, there'll be no shame. Fear not, I have redeemed you, and I've called you by your name. Fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, there'll be no shame. Fear not, I have redeemed you, and I've called you by your name. For I am the Lord your Savior, the Holy One, the rod, the strong right arm of Abraham. I'm your own almighty God. So fear not, for I am with you. Fear not, there'll be no shame. Fear not, I have redeemed you, and I've called you by your name. Oh yes, I've called you by your name. You know you're mine, and I know your name.
All righty, thank you so much, BJ. Doing a wonderful job. Wonderful job. So how long have you known BJ?
Actually, BJ was one of the first persons who stepped out with me 18 years ago.
Wow.
And I knew nothing about Israel, knew nothing about Jews. I knew nothing about anything, especially Israel and what it stood for. As I told you one time before, I was headed to become United States ambassador to South America. Mm-hmm. And that run that morning, I changed my life and I became an ambassador for Israel. So that's a pretty good change, huh?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so he's been with me the whole time.
Wow, he's doing a good job tonight. So, well, joining us now is Dr. Daniel Williams. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
My pleasure.
And you're the executive director of Israel Allies Foundation. Tell us about Israel Allies Foundation.
Well, I'd have to back up to around 2004. And at that time, Israel was going through what they call the second intifada. The word intifada means uprising. And so there were bombings and shootings and stabbings, a lot of what you see today, but actually at a much higher pace.
Wow.
And it really affected the country in many ways. It affected their own sense of morality, of dealing with this, and how are they going to deal with it, and why isn't the peace process working. One of the things that happened, though, is a lot of people quit going to Israel. The Muslims quit going. The Orthodox quit going. The Catholics quit going. And so that really hit them hard. It's just like any other state, North Carolina, South Carolina, I'm from Florida. We need tourism. It's part of who we are, and it's one of those legs of an economy. It really hit them hard. But I think more than that, it really hit them hard how the world was turning against them. in the European press, even here in America. But one thing that they saw and noted during that, and it actually was begun by the person who's now the president of our organization. He was a young whippersnapper marketing guy, and he basically goes to the one of the members of the Knesset, which is their parliament, and says, I'm noticing that these evangelical Christians are coming in greater number than they ever have in the history of tourism here, and we don't know why. We need to find out more about them, because it's really a matter of numbers. Most people don't realize that there are only about 7 million Jews that live in Israel. There are only about 14 or 15 million in the whole world, which is hard to believe when you think of the scale of their impact on the economy, on technology.
Now, I knew there was only about 7 million in the nation, but so about 14 million Jews worldwide.
The highest number I've ever heard was 20 million, and that's everybody usually balks at that's not even possible. So the reality is that we have most Jewish people live in either Israel or America, and a lot of them are going to all end up in Florida, because that's where. So the bottom line is that because of all that uproar that was going on, people quit going. But for whatever reason, and I have to believe God Himself was orchestrating it, because it was not being orchestrated by man. Brazilian Christians, American Christians, Canadian Christians, South African Christians, evangelicals with their Bibles in hand and anointing oil started showing up. In other words, the craziest Christians of all. But the Israeli government didn't know us at all. They didn't understand who we were. There had been some people working in Israel a long time, like Bridges for Peace and International Christian Embassy Jerusalem and various others. But there really was not a recognition of, well, who are these and how are they distinguished from Catholics or Orthodox? But all of a sudden, they began to be introduced to Bible-believing Christians that feel that not only is it that America ought to be an ally of Israel, or South Africa needs to be, whatever it might be, but really because of their biblical worldview. Because Israel is at the center of the Bible, because Jerusalem is a city in which God Himself declared, my name will be there forever. And so Christians began to come, and that caught the attention of this young man, Josh Reinstein. He goes to Yuri Stern in the parliament, and they started something in 2004 called the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus. Now, don't let that name fool you. There was not one Christian in the whole group. These were Druze and Orthodox and secular Jews, and there were parliament members. But basically, they came together for the purpose of trying to understand this phenomenon, because, frankly, they need numbers. Politically, they need numbers. And here these people were coming from all over the world to stand with Israel in their worst moment. And that was the beginning of our organization. That caucus, eventually, Yuri Stern, who began it, he passed away a year later. Benny Alon, who had been the minister of tourism, he's a rabbi, 7th-generation Jerusalemite, highly regarded, really respected by the Orthodox, the seculars. I mean, he was just the right guy who had an understanding that Israel needed to have a stronger relationship with Bible-believing Christians. Not for us to go over there and convert them, but then they know what we believe, and they know our story, and they know their story. But we need these people. And so Benny began to lead that charge. Ultimately, in 2006, we took the next step as an organization and began the Israel Allies Congressional Caucus, which is today one of the strongest bipartisan caucuses in our Congress here in America. And so that was the beginning. And so I got involved about 11 years ago as a consultant, and just volunteering to help them in any way I could. And about a year and a half ago, I became the executive director.
Wow. I had never thought of it like that, because here in the States, you visit different churches, and I've been exposed to all types of denominations. It's normal to me. You get a good old Church of God member over there in Bethlehem running the aisles and speaking in tongues.
That's right.
What is this?
They're going to think they're crazy. And then you take it not only, from the U.S., like I said, good old Church of God boy, but you go to Brazil, you look at the Catholics, look at the Orthodox, you look at different, they're going to act all different at these different sites and things, and that would be interesting.
It is. Can you imagine? Can you imagine you being a Jewish person, and you're Orthodox or whatever? You sit there in synagogue like this, and all of a sudden you're exposed to this right here.
Who are these folks?
It makes a big difference, And yet, they don't laugh at us. They say, "Come, we welcome you." And that's so heartwarming to see that, for them to understand that we have our way of worshiping the Almighty God, and they have their way, but they're not telling us we're wrong. They just said, come, join us. Come to the Kotel, pray.
That's interesting. So,
well, and Dante, what we've seen, which is really the miracle. Now, I need to confess to you, I had not been to Israel until 11 years ago.
Wow.
I'm one of the new guys. It's like Nehemiah put out the call, and I was the last guy to show up with a trowel in one hand and the sword in the other. My whole life has been spent in world evangelism and mission work. I'm the founder of an organization that's now called Go To Nations, and it's in 93 countries around the world. And we've won millions of people to Christ. So that was my framework, church planting, not Israel. It was actually the 71st country I visited.
Wow.
But in fact, in these short 11 years in my life.
So you've been to 70 countries prior to Israel.
Oh, yeah.
And never had been.
Yeah,
See,
no.
Israel was like my third country I went to, So wow.
I was busy.
Wow. Well, definitely, that's for sure.
And so, but the reality is that what I've been, because of maybe my late entrance, I've been able to watch the miracle. Because when I first started going, you could almost, you would never find anybody, frankly, that understood the Christian-Jewish relationship, geopolitically in particular.
Right.
That just was not discussed. It wasn't on the. It was just not even there. And yet, for me, that's the way I was introduced. And so I thought it was a lot farther along, but I came to find out very quickly it was just germinating in 2006 when I became involved. But today, you just can't believe it. In fact, one of the most common jokes I hear when I'm among Knesset members, they love to tell this joke. It goes something like this. You Christians, you believe that Jesus is the Messiah. We don't believe that. But we do believe in Messiah. And you Christians, you believe that Jesus is coming back to Jerusalem. We believe that Messiah is coming back to Jerusalem. So when he gets there, we'll ask him, is this your first time or your second time? The reason I love that joke, I laugh every time, but more than that, I just feel it right here, that we could even tell it and laugh together.
Sure.
And work together and find ways for that not to be a problem, our differences.
Isn't that the difference between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism? The God that we serve gives us a choice. Islam says you don't have a choice.
Yes.
You must, and if you don't follow us, you lose your head. See, so that's what he's saying. You go to Israel, they don't tell you lose your head if you come here to worship. They say, come, welcome. We love you. We want you to work with us. Yeah. I don't understand why they would love us after what we've done to them. Right. But again, just like you said, it's so, you're free when you come there. I can't wait for you to come back again, Dante.
We're going soon. I keep saying that.
I can't wait for you to come back.
Now, since 2006, how many times have you been to Israel?
I don't even know.
Countless.
30, 40 times. Wow. I'm not even sure.
Wow.
But what I do every day is wake up and work for Israel.
Yeah.
And I do my most effective work right here in America.
Now, you do a lot in D.C., correct?
Yes.
What is the U.S.? Doesn't have to be government, just in the U.S. in general. What are we doing for Israel right now that you're proud of? What could we do better? How can we continue to help Israel?
Question.
Quite a number of things. First of all, we have a bipartisan caucus to this day in the Congress. And that's not easy these days.
Right.
But surprisingly, in the U.S. Congress today, and I would say it's even mostly true of the Senate, that Israel is the most bipartisan issue, period, that ever hits the floor on either one of the houses. And so the reality is that I get to see a lot of great things being done in terms of trade legislation and other, obviously sending them, helping them with their arms, working together on technology from our country to theirs, and a lot of that flows through Washington, D.C. But it also flows through every single state in the U.S., including North Carolina, South Carolina, in my case, Florida, and all over the country. So we engage in legislation. We are a policy organization. We're not a Christian organization. I should say that right up front. We are a Jewish and Christian organization, but even that doesn't define us. We like to call ourselves a faith-based organization. We are Bible-believing, so the Bible affects our policy work. So we have a biblical worldview instead of a worldly biblical view.
Right.
And so as a result of that, our policy is, as an example, that Jerusalem not be divided into two capitals, but that it remain the eternal, indivisible capital of the Jewish people, the capital of Israel, the place that God commanded for that to be where His name would dwell and for His people.
Right.
You know, a lot of times people ask me the question because they think I know so much. I don't. Again, I'm sitting among Bible prophecy giants and people that have worked.
He's talking about me.
Yeah. People that have worked on these things for years. I'm the dumbest guy in the room, but even I can figure a few things out. And we're in a very prophetic moment. We're in a time when God has opened a window. He's opened a door for people just like you and me to stand up in a very meaningful way for Israel. And you read in the Bible, for instance, in 1 Corinthians 15, it talks about Adam, the first Adam and the second Adam, and it makes a statement there that's very powerful that actually is kind of in conflict with what most of us say in Christian circles. It says, first comes the material, and then comes the spiritual, which is the opposite of what we tend to think. We tend to think we got to win it in the spirit, you know, and then it's going to happen in the material. But actually, it says right there in 1 Corinthians 15 that first came the material or the earthly, then comes the spiritual. And I think if we look around and we see this nation born after, it's a miracle that it's there.
Exactly.
It's a miracle that it's still there.
Yeah.
And we can personally engage in advocacy for Israel. That what we're doing in the material actually is, I believe, the beginning of maybe the end, but certainly the beginning of what we believe that God wants to do, which is to fulfill His promises to His people. And we are grafted into those promises as Christians. And so I get up every day, even though I've spent most of my life in working to fulfill the Great Commission. I feel like what I do today is just as important as anything I've ever done. It is just as biblical and is just as vital. And for me, it's more prophetic. So I'm joining my prophetic brethren here.
Well, it sounds like from what you were doing, a church planter in 70 plus countries, to what you're doing now, really seems pretty a seamless transition to you, even though it sounds totally opposite ends of the spectrum, but it seemed like a pretty seamless transition, was it for you?
Not precisely seamless, but I would say overall, you know who Joel Rosenberg is, right?
Yes.
When I met Joel a few years ago, it was a great story. I don't have time to tell it now, but we had just met, and he read, I've written a couple books. He read one of my books the night that I met him. I gave him a book, he gave me his new book, and the next day we were together, and he said, Daniel, I've read your story. And he said, and it had nothing to do really with Israel, but he says, I think everything you have done in your life has led you to this moment. Well, I'd like to make an even bolder statement than that. I think everything in all of our lives has led us to this moment. I think everything in the church, our good, our bad, our indifferent, everything, it has all led us to this moment. And it's the most critical hour. I can't think of anything more important than for Christians to begin to engage with Israel. If you haven't been, go. If you have been, then become more informed about what it's all about and how we can stand with them politically. It's a shame how ignorant most Christians are about the actual issues of Israel. And yet they're right there in the Bible. They're right there in front of us, and they're on the nightly news.
Right.
Even the fake news.
Yes, even the fake news. Well, you said go. You know, if you haven't gone, go. When I was in Israel, it was 2001, pre-9/11, just right before it. Never felt unsafe. I never felt unsettled or anything like that. And that's a big deterrent for people, is all the things we've been talking about tonight. But if you haven't been, go. Don't let what's going on stop you.
No.
If you're going to go out, what better place to go out than in Israel?
Absolutely.
And just imagine if you're over there and that's when Christ does return. You get to see that breaking through that wall. Oh, that'd be awesome, So, but anyway, go to Israel. I'm going to go soon. I'm going to say it a couple more times before the program's over.
Maybe
I'm going to go. When are you going back, Daniel?
I go back next time in October.
Okay, so
what we do during the Feast of Tabernacles every year, we work with parliaments around the world. So we've grown from the Knesset Christian Allies caucus to now 36 countries where we develop caucuses within parliaments. They have to develop their own caucus, but we help that come together,
right.
And then we help educate them with policy. And so we have a big policy meeting every October. Every Feast of Tabernacles. We'll have parliamentarians from all over the world, and we spend 3 days just going over issues, taking them to special places they wouldn't go otherwise, and learning. Awesome. And so that's my next trip.
Awesome.
Usually they revolve around that kind of work at this point.
Well, if people want to learn more about your foundation, give us a website or email, or how can people get a hold of you?
They can go to the IsraelAllies.org. IsraelAllies.org. Awesome. Simple as that. I would also suggest putting an Israel Allies Foundation into Google Alert, and you'll get stuff almost every day because something somewhere is happening that's related to the work that we do. And that's work that's happening there and here in the States, isn't it? We've passed anti-BDS bills in 23 states. We have 17 more lined up right this minute. Wow, that's awesome.
And before we close, I'd like to say something to you. You asked a question, what can we do to help you, Daniel? But I want to say to you, it's people like you and Dorothy Spalding and others. You could have entertainment on here. You're educating people. Mm-hmm. And God has a gift for you in heaven when you get there, because He says, I will bless those who bless Israel. And the many, many people that you reach, Dante, and you've always been you've welcomed us when we come every time. And you've always got that smile on your face, and you want to go to Israel. But I'm telling you, for what you're doing to your viewing audience is a gift that they could never, ever receive. So God bless you for what you're doing on behalf of the State of Israel and the Prime Minister of the State of Israel. I want you to know that.
We love doing it. Our viewers love learning about Israel. A lot of them, they might not be able to go in this life, and they get to learn about it. They get to be engaged and support the people that we have on here. That's for sure.
Well, maybe they'll send you for them.
Hey, I like that.
A lot of people can't afford it. They say, well, I'm too busy. I can't do it. But let me suggest to them, and I've done this before, and they have done this on other television, send that host of that television station there and let him go for you, and he'll come back and tell the story, and they will get that same blessing that you do.
Well, I've said it on here, I don't know how many times, but if you're a church, send your pastor. Because he will never preach the same. He'll never, once he experiences that, he'll bring that to life in the pulpit. And same thing goes for yourself. You'll never read the Bible the same, because you've been there, you've touched it, you smelt it, you've tasted it. All these things, your life will change. But if you can't go, send your pastor. It'll help the church in the way he preaches and the way he presents the message tremendously. It's unreal. You can tell the difference when somebody's talking about Israel that hasn't been there, that has been there. It's night and day. It's night and day. So I got to go back. So
we waiting on that. I'm still waiting.
But Dr. Daniel Williams, thank you so much for being here. Again, the website one more time.
IsraelAllies.org.
Excellent. Check it out, folks. But right now, we're going to take a break for BJ to sing us another song, and it's going to be entitled Never Again.
Never again will your people stand alone. Never again will they be left without a home. Never again will they think they have been abandoned. For all will know this is the place God has His hand on. Never again will we dare avert our eye from the lands led away silently to die. Never again let our country bar the doors. to the tattered ships that flee from deadly shores. Never again, never again, hear, O Israel, never again, never again will you hang your head in shame. For your God has brought you back to praise his name. Never again, never again. Now a kingdom has awakened to your pain. Though around you gather all the hordes of hell, they'll face the power of God's love for Israel. Never again allow the world to turn its head and pretend innocent blood has not been shed. For our God has joined us, spirit, flesh, and bone. We shall be to you a wall of living stone. Never again, never again, hear, O Israel, never again, never again will you hang your head in shame. For your God has brought you back to praise his name. Never again, never again. Now a kingdom has awakened to your pain. Though around you gather all the hordes of hell, they'll face the power of God's love for Israel. Never again, never again will I close these eyes to sleep, till I remind my God of the eternal promise he must keep, to lift up his holy people and his temple before men, and cause all the earth to praise Jerusalem. Never again, never again, I promise Israel, never again, never again will you hang your head in shame. For your God has brought you back to praise his name. Never again, never again, I promise Israel, never again. This is a warning to all the hordes of hell. You'll face the power of God's love for Israel. You'll face the power of God's love for Israel. When I lay down my life in love for Israel.
Alrighty, folks. BJ is done for the evening. That's
Well,
a shame.
you know, he's
I've
not-
been enjoying that all night.
I have to put up with him all the way to Greensboro.
So you were over before it started, then, were you?
Yeah.
I love it, BJ. You're doing a great job tonight. But our final guest tonight is Moshe Barzvi. Did I get that close?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Awesome. And Moshe, this is your first time on television, right? Far
This is
from
about, first or second, but
Today.
who counts?
today. Now, Moshe, you on got a program on a Daystar in Israel. And that's the same Daystar that Marcus Lamb owns here in the U.S.
Yes,
or
sir.
runs in the U.S. And you got a lot of viewers there in Israel and worldwide.
Yeah, it's a very famous program. I think it's the #1 TV program coming out of Israel in any kind of network, and I'm talking the big guys, CNN, Fox, etc.
Wow.
So it's called Israel Now News. It had been there for the last 5 years or so, and practically speaking, millions of Christians are watching. And the secret of the program, which is only 5 years old, is that 5 years old we have announced that the truth would be coming from Jerusalem, which is a scripture in Psalms, and the truth shall set you free, and therefore we are obliged to give unbiased news about Israel and not the whole fake news area that we all foresee now, 5 years later.
Yeah.
But I can tell you about this program that thousands or hundreds of thousands are sitting and watching it every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday,
mostly in churches, by the way. They're all coming together and watch it at 5 p.m. on Sunday.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
It's
That's
amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Really amazing. And also very educating. But that's another story.
Well, tell us what you're seeing going on in Israel that the U.S. Needs to be aware of, that our viewers need to be aware of.
Well, I think that it's most important to understand that the world is, under the Trump administration, is going through a massive change. That means we are leaving the politically correct arena, and we are a little bit, but slowly but surely, we are coming into, let's face the truth. We are going through, I would say, fake news area, but I think we would end up with the situation that, at least about the Middle East, everybody would know what is the truth and what it's all about. And the core of all cores is the understanding that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it's not the story. People do understand it. I mean, still, naive people in Europe still think that this is the problem and this is why ISIS is coming. But I'm telling you that the core of course of understanding the Middle East is to understand that within Islam, Sunni kill Shia and Shia kill Sunni for the last 1,000 years. And the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is just a fraction of it. And people just try to understand it, and I mean, it's very difficult to understand, because the French government would always tell you that it's all about the Palestinian and whenever they would get rights. But I can tell you very confidently that in today's world, it's all about this battle, and this is a battle of 1,000 years and would last for another 1,000 years. So it's not about Palestinian state, yes or no or maybe anymore. It's about let them kill themselves and understand what it's all about. And it's about who reigns the Islam. Is it Muhammad or is it his cousin? I'm talking hundreds of years ago. So now let's see. We are waiting to see who's going to win there.
Yeah. And that's something that I didn't really understand until we were really engaged in Iraq, is the battle between Islam just on top of themselves.
Yeah, they're fighting each other every day. Every day. You know, one thing, and I say this because he's a very modest man right here. When you listen to his program, you're listening to a person who has experienced and knows what he's talking about. When you turn on the news here in America, you know as well as I do, you're listening to people who read teleprompters that somebody has written about. This man, he served as a tank commander in IDF.
Wow.
He served as a high official with Levi Strauss. He was he was the president and CEO of the Jerusalem Post.
Wow.
He started the Christian edition of the Jerusalem Post, which is a magazine very successful.
Yeah.
I mean, he has credentials behind him like you would not believe, but you'd never hear him say that. And so that's when I listen, if I'm listening to him on the telecast, I believe what he says because I know he's experienced it. He's not just talking about it, but he has also an organization that's called Love Israel.
Yes.
And what it does is bring two peoples together, just like you're trying to do with your station here, bringing Christians and Jews together and an understanding, bridging the difference. Tell them about that. I think they'd be very interested in it.
I think that the Love Israel movement is a result of the spirit of the people engaged. I mean, it was in my heart of 10 years ago to bring a new platform into a bridge that would bring together Christians and Jews serving the Jewish people and the state of Israel, which is all, it's pure obedience to the Bible. I mean, there are scriptures very specific about standing with Israel, support Israel. So
that's one of the things in the Bible that's perfectly clear. There's no gray area there.
No hesitation.
In my head.
So about 3 years ago, it was really in my heart, and I think that God spoke to me loud and clear after 7 years in this arena, that it is time to create a new movement that would belong to the people and of the people, but of course people, I mean Christians and Jews. And we have just started 2014, 2015. And today, Love Israel, you should go and visit loveisrael.com. We are more than 700,000 people. I reach 1 million evangelicals every day. I mean, myself I reach. It's not me, it's God through me. But the idea is to create a movement that will be a global movement of people that, on one hand, understand the Bible and the purpose of the scriptures. What does it mean to bless Israel? What does it mean to pray for Israel? And what does it mean to be a watchman on the wall of Jerusalem, like Earl is doing? So the idea is very simple. You can join us by going to loveisrael.com. You can be part of our movement, and it's really becoming not only stronger and mightier, it's becoming, I think, more global, because let's say with 1 million that I'm aiming for to celebrate in the 70th year of independence for Israel.
This coming year.
Yeah, in less than a year, Earl, I need to be 1 million. That's why I explained Dorothy that now she needs to help me bringing more soldiers to this army.
Right.
Because the idea is that, as far as I'm concerned, on the 70th birthday for Israel, I don't mind letting them know that we all walk to Jerusalem together, to stand with Israel, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and to bless those who bless Israel. Genesis 12, which is really the core of all scriptures, if I may add.
Right.
And the meaningfulness of this movement is, it's so simple. It's so pure. It's coming from within. There is no huge budget, or there is no, a billionaire around it, or behind it. But the idea is that it's becoming global. So 500,000 of us are Americans, but there is another 150,000 of us from the Philippines, and 100,000 are Brazilians, and 50,000 are Nigerians.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, we already count 86 countries, of which supporters of Israel are backing loveisrael.com.
That's
so
awesome.
You better go to the site, look at the projects. We work with soldiers. We work with Holocaust survivors. We work with children sick with cancer.
Wow.
We work with many public that need the support, but also on top of that, we are trying to bring the pure news through Israel Now News, but also through loveisrael.com, of which that whenever you feel that you need to be connecting with Israel, you would go to your ministry at home, which is away from home, which is Jerusalem.
Right.
Exactly. And you can watch it on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, of course.
Wonderful.
We are already close to 700,000 members on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, folks, we got like 5 or 6 minutes left in the show. Wait till after the show, but go to Love Israel on Facebook, like them on there, so you can get the latest in news from Israel. How can people watch your program? Is it on Daystar here in the U.S. or is it streaming?
The program is on Daystar via satellite, via cables. By the way, it's around the world in 195 nations, countries around the world. So one day I got a phone call from a friend watching at the Hilton Beijing.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he was saying, I didn't know you have a program. So I told him, now you know. Because now I'm really trying to be humble and modest, as I mentioned. But the fact is that watching the program is getting the news from Israel, which is not like getting the news from Israel by CNN or BBC or any others, because first they would start with bad news, and then they would proceed with criticizing Israel, and at the end they would mention that maybe, Palestinian was trying to stab Israeli soldier and got murdered. That's how fake news becomes so ridiculous.
Well, one thing we hadn't mentioned is you were born in Jerusalem?
I'm a 9th generation from Jerusalem.
That's awesome.
My ancestors were among the first 5 families that moved from the old city outside of the walls into a neighborhood called Nachlaot, which is really in the center of the new Jerusalem that we know. It was back in 1904.
Wow. So I bet you've got tons of stories before 1948. I mean, before Israel's back as a nation. That is so cool. That is so cool. And now you got kids in the 10th and maybe grandkids in the 11th generation yet?
Grandkid, not yet.
Not yet.
But I have...
your son's here.
My son is here, joining me for the first time, Ori.
Yeah.
So it's the first time ever that he came with me on such a beautiful trip that we are doing now. He is a law student in his last year. So after 4th year in university, he would hopefully become a lawyer. And I have an older daughter. She's about to get married in the next couple of weeks. And she is a retired Air Force captain, so you better behave.
Wow, I promise to be on my best behavior. Goodness. Between she was an Air Force captain and you were a tank commander, and man, I'm surrounded here. I'm outgunned, that's for sure.
You're tall. I mean, why do you think I feel so safe when I walk around anymore?
That's it. You know, wow.
Dante,
Wow.
you know how important that news is.
Yeah.
That's why I first met him 13 years ago.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Because
know
we wanted to bring the news live from Israel to here. It's a dream. And now it's coming.
that. That's great.
So isn't that great? But you
That's
can watch
great.
it on Facebook if you don't get Daystar.
Awesome. So check your local listings on Daystar. What's the name of the program again?
Israel Now News.
Israel
It airs
Now News.
3 times a week on Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays.
Okay. So check that out. Also, go to loveisrael.com and sign up for any notifications on there. Check it out and go to their Facebook page. And, of course, you got local offices here in the U.S. and Texas.
Yes.
But you are based out of Tel Aviv.
Yes,
Israel.
but I'm going back and forth. That's my mission, and that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, Moshe, I want to thank you so much for being here. And we got a couple of minutes left. Earl, it's been a great program. I've learned a lot. I always do.
Well,
That's for sure.
I thought I learned a lot. He happens to put out a calendar that I've just looked at.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That calendar is unreal. I thought I knew pretty much everything about Israel, holidays and etc. And I looked at it the other night. He was visiting with me at my home up in the mountains. And I looked at it. I did not realize that I was so naive on so many of those holidays until I looked and saw the Christian. And Dorothy's, I think will be carrying some of your
We'll have it.
There it is on the screen there.
Lord's appointed times, and that's what's so great about it.
Amazing calendar. I've never seen one like it.
And so it lists all the Jewish holidays on there that
Jewish and Christian.
and Christian holidays.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I know the Jewish people have a ton of holidays. I mean, and I can't pronounce
That's
half
right.
of them. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff. But can you keep up with them? I mean, is that something that's easy to do, or do you have to have the calendar to remind you?
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
Tell you, the calendar is one thing. The calendar must be a blessing for all Christian believers because it gives both the Christian and the Jewish holidays. But as for myself, I see no difference between Jews and between Christian lovers of Israel. For myself, we are one team together. When I see Earl standing on the walls of Jerusalem, practically I can see him there. When I see Dorothy protecting the name of Israel, I think that there is no difference between citizens of Israel, Jews or Christians, or between what I call the Christian diaspora. These are dear Christian lovers of Israel that support Israel and standing behind it. So for me, it's the same. We are really on the same bridge, serving God about the most important thing in the Bible, which is to bless those who bless Israel. And that's so simple. So if I can summarize everything, we are all in the same boat. We are all on the same side of the bridge, and we are all the good among a very complicated world.
Yes.
And we better wake up because we need to understand who is against us.
Right. Well, I want to thank y'all so much for being here. And again, loveisrael.com. I want to thank all our guests that's been on with us. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Dorothy, for being here. And everybody, let's go to Israel. Let's pray and support Israel. Constantly pray for Israel, that's for sure. But our program is come and gone. It's time to end. But I want to thank y'all for watching and tune in tomorrow night for another great show of Nite Line. We'll see you then. Awesome.
The local churches are inviting you. Just listen to this week's Church Spotlight. Karen Peck and New River will be in a love offering concert Sunday, September 10th, 6 p.m. at West Anderson Church of God. For more information, call 864-506-1939. This has been Church Spotlight, a public service announcement of Dove.